It started with two mysterious suitcases dumped on the side of a highway in Wisconsin. When workers opened them, they found something horrifying: human remains stuffed inside. But this was just the beginning of a shocking investigation that led to the arrest of a former police officer turned predator. Who was he? How did he get away with these murders? And what was his twisted method of hunting his victims? This is the disturbing case of Steven Zelich, the so-called suitcase killer, and the tragic murders of Jenny Gamez and Laura Simonson. The chilling discovery. On June 5, 2014, a group of highway workers was performing routine maintenance on a rural road in Geneva, Wisconsin. Everything seemed normal until they noticed two abandoned suitcases sitting in the grass near the roadside. At first, they assumed it was just someone's discarded luggage, but something about them felt off. The suitcases were unusually heavy, and a foul odor was seeping out. Curiosity quickly turned into horror when they unzipped the bags. Inside, they found human remains wrapped in garbage bags. The discovery sent shockwaves through the quiet community, and authorities were immediately called to the scene. The police knew they had stumbled upon something sinister, but the real question was, who were these victims, and how did they end up here? Investigators soon realized that they were dealing with a double homicide. The remains belonged to two women who had gone missing under similar circumstances. As the police worked tirelessly to identify them, they began uncovering a dark and twisted story that would lead them to a man with a horrifying past. Who were the victims? Jenny Gamez, a young life cut short. Jenny Gamez was just 19 years old when she vanished. Originally from Cottage Grove, Oregon, Jenny was described as an energetic, kind-hearted young woman with big dreams. She had been living in Wisconsin in 2012, exploring new opportunities, but somewhere along the way, she crossed paths with the wrong person. For years, Jenny's whereabouts remained a mystery. Her family had no idea what had happened to her. She had seemingly disappeared without a trace, until her remains were discovered in one of the suitcases. It was a devastating blow to her loved ones, who had held on to hope that she might still be alive. But who could have done this to her? Laura Simonson, a mother who never came home. The second victim, 37-year-old Laura Simonson, was a single mother from Farmington, Minnesota. She had been struggling with personal challenges but was trying to rebuild her life. Laura had a deep love for her children and was known for her warm, caring nature. In November 2013, Laura suddenly vanished. Her last known location was a hotel in Rochester, Minnesota, where she had checked in with a man. After that, she was never seen again. When her body was found in the second suitcase, her family's worst fears were confirmed. But the discovery also led investigators to the man responsible for both murders. A man hiding in plain sight. The killer. Who was Steven Zelich? Steven Zelich was not just any criminal. He was a former police officer. Born in 1961, Zelich once worked for the West Allis Police Department in Wisconsin. On the surface, he seemed like an average guy. But behind closed doors, he had dark desires that would eventually turn deadly. Zelich was forced to resign from the police force in 2001 after multiple allegations of misconduct. However, this was only the beginning of his secret life. He frequently visited online BDSM and fetish websites where he presented himself as a dominant figure looking for submissive partners. He went by the username Mr. Handcuffs, a chilling nod to his past as a cop and his sinister intentions. For years, Zelich used these websites to lure women into his trap. He was skilled at manipulation, gaining their trust before meeting them in person. But once they were alone with him, the situation quickly turned deadly. He would claim that the killings were accidental, part of consensual BDSM activities. But the evidence painted a much darker picture, one of a man who preyed on vulnerable women and disposed of their bodies like trash. How the murders happened. Jenny Gamez, the first known victim. In 2012, Jenny Gamez met Zelich through an online BDSM forum. She was young, trusting, and eager to explore new experiences. Zelich convinced her to meet him in person, but what she thought was a safe encounter quickly turned into a nightmare. Zelich later admitted that he strangled Jenny to death in a hotel room. However, instead of alerting authorities, he stuffed her body into a suitcase and kept it in his home for months. He eventually decided to get rid of it, But it wasn't until 2014 that the remains were discovered. Laura Simonson, another victim, falls into his trap. In late 2013, Zelich repeated the same horrifying pattern. He met Laura Simonson online, lured her to a hotel, and took her life in the same brutal way. Once again, he stored her body instead of reporting the crime. For months, Laura's body remained hidden. He eventually placed both Jenny and Laura's remains into suitcases and abandoned them by the side of the road, believing he would never be caught. But his plan was about to unravel. The arrest and trial. The discovery of the suitcases led investigators on a determined hunt for the killer. After identifying Laura through her dental records, police traced her last known movements, leading them straight to Steven Zelich. He was arrested on June 27, 2014. During questioning, Zelich admitted to both murders, but claimed they were consensual. He insisted that the women agreed to being restrained and that their deaths were accidental. However, the sheer brutality of the crimes and the way he disposed of their bodies told a different story. Zelich faced multiple charges in both Wisconsin and Minnesota. He was sentenced to 35 years in prison for the murder of Jenny Gamez and another 25 years for the murder of Laura Simonson. Additionally, he received 10 more years for hiding their bodies, bringing his total sentence to 70 years, a virtual life sentence. Lessons from the case. The tragic murders of Jenny Gamez and Laura Simonson highlight the dangers that can lurk behind online personas. Zelich exploited his past as a cop and his dominant persona to manipulate and harm his victims. This case serves as a chilling reminder to always exercise caution when interacting with strangers online. It also raises questions about how authorities handle missing persons cases. Jenny was missing for 2 years before anyone realized something was wrong. Laura checked into a hotel with a man and was never seen again. Yet it took months to connect the dots. If there had been more awareness and faster action, could these women have been saved? Steven Zelich may be behind bars, but the pain he caused will never fade. 2 women lost their lives in a brutal and senseless way. Families were shattered, and the world was left wondering how someone could commit such horrific acts. What do you think about this case? Should online communities be more regulated to prevent predators like Zelich from finding victims? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video informative, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more gripping true crime stories. Stay safe, stay aware, and always trust your instincts. Until next time.